Yo, JD here, Tyrrell Lewis, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always. And today, we are in a very, very sweaty lobby with the likes of CRG Lutz, Jakey B, and many other very, very fast racers. We are doing 25% races, as I streamed recently, using the good old preset setup. As you can see, I'm changing my MFD as soon as I can before turn 1 at Austria, and we had some great fun with this, some very, very intense races, and today this was certainly one of the best ones from the bunch. So we're in a Renault, equal cars, everyone's using the same setup, and it's quite a test using the preset setups, especially in a 25% as well, because they are so understeery, which usually make the tyres overheat quite a lot. So there's a lot to actually manage and think about, but most of all, it is just really, really fun, to be honest. And I think I'm going to start really just doing 25% races only, and because this is the way I actually learned.
This is not too good.
I felt how I improved the most on 2012, 2013. All I ever did was 25% races, and it's kind of crazy that I haven't actually really done that much until this point now. As we come across the line, that lap was not the best lap that I've done in the world, and that is only 6th. And a guy called Oyster, if I just said that completely wrong, I'm really sorry, he came on top with a 3.3, which is really, really good with a preset setup. So we're back in P6, just trying to unlock this OP race pace that I can try and do as we get a very decent-ish start. I was going to say insane start, but we got a pretty good start. But then we're going to dive down the inside of my teammate MJ Popey, who really is kind of leaving me a lot of room. So nice, fair, clean racing from him. So that is 1 position down. Now we've got another 4 to go. It's almost going 3 wide at the end of turn 2 here. You can see you've got the likes of Jakey B, who's out in the lead, Lutz, and the pole sitters got down to P3. Now we've got AMR Hunter in the Ferrari, so I'm going to try and get past him as soon as I possibly can. So I've got right around the outside, and just trying to hold around the outside, but you're not going to get any traction going on that curb, so we have to slot in behind for the time being here. And it's been a good start, and as I said, with the preset setups, you really have to make your moves at the right time. Otherwise, you're really going to be suffering with the ERS. And it's just so hard as well. When everyone's on the same setup, it's just so hard. It makes it that much harder to actually overtake. Whereas if you have a custom setup and it is actually just better than someone else's, then it's normally quite a bit easier to overtake. So we're going to just sit behind. You can see getting used to the track here, as we've already got our first track invalidation. So that's a very, very good start to this race. So never really want to get that too early when you're racing. In league racing, I always try, and that's why sometimes I'm a little bit cautious at times, because sometimes I just try and save the invalidations to the end where I have to really, really push. I just try and get through 3/4 of the race without an invalidation, then I can kind of relax a little bit more, because if you just get 1 or 2 very, very early, then it really kind of disrupts your rhythm. And with league racing these days, or just even in just competitive lobbies like this, if you're going to get a penalty, then you can just say goodbye to having a good position, especially in esports. Esports, that is just, the level of esports is absolutely mental, because they are just going so fast, and no one gets a warning, no one gets a penalty as well. And if you get a penalty and you're winning the race, then you're probably going to be coming outside the top 6, top 7. That's how close it really is. So not quite the same level here, but still, it's still very, very intense, and we enjoy it. So now I saw this as an opportunity, kind of caught AMR Hunter napping a little bit, just using that momentum. Even if he puts on the overtake button, there's not really too much he can do. We go down the inside, leaving some room on the outside, but we're going to get the DRS, and now we're up into 4th place from P6. So pretty solid start, just doing everything I need to do at this point as they're starting the battle up front between Lutz and Jakey B, as the Alfa Romeo almost loses the back end here. So now I just want to just cruise up to the back of them as efficiently as I possibly can, as they're still going side by side here. So I'm just trying to save my ERS, save the fuel again, And you'll notice with my fuel as well, sometimes I put it in lean when you think I don't need to, like going through here for example. That's really to just keep the engine quite cool as well, because if you put it in standard and rich quite a lot, you're not actually going to get the maximum power from the engine because the engine just overheats. That really is actually a thing. So you set the fastest that, but then my arch nemesis Thomas Dude, he always just has to beat me at everything, which is very annoying. Moving on to the end of lap 4 now. No one is pitted yet, but that's my second warning of the race. So that is not what you want with 13 laps of this race to go, of this very short lap, but still 13 laps. You know, that doesn't put you good. And you can see now I'm just not driving particularly well at this point. I'm just trying to avoid getting another warning, which would then get me a penalty. Because with this default setup, it's just so hard to kind of adjust when you're using custom setups. Custom setups compared to this is like night and day. It's just so different. So we're coming towards the end of lap 7, and again, similar to esports, we're kind of just in a train. You can see I've managed to save a fair amount of my ERS as a couple of the guys pit. So JKB and myself continue, Lutz and the Alfa Romeo and then go into the pit. So now I'm just going to use this lap to try and not lose any time as much as possible. I was trying to get within the second so I could get the DRS for the exit turn 1. I'm not quite going to be close enough, so I'm just still over a second behind JKB. Amar Hunter is actually still within my DRS zone, just about he is. So we really need to push in this in lap as much as we possibly can, because track position around here really is important. You can see we lost a bit of time in that hairpin, but we'll go use the rest of our ERS here. We've managed to save quite a nice amount for this in lap, which is something I said in my esports video, something that you really want to do, especially in league racing as well, is really just to save it as much as you possibly can, because I'd rather win with as much ERS as possible than going into the last lap defending with nothing to defend with. You've got to make sure you have the right amount at the right time. So we're going to go into the pits on this lap here. Doesn't matter really about pit entry, so we'll just both just try and go as fast as we can coming into the pits. And normally I take it quite cautious, but on this occasion we really do gain quite a bit of time on JKB going to. So that was a very nice pit entry in fact. So let's see how much time we've actually lost on the leaders of Lutz and Oyster as well. JKB comes out, same distance again. Amar Hunter's also coming behind me, so you can see one of them has gone past now. Lutz gone past. This is such an awkward pit exit. Sometimes it's so easy to hit that inside wall. And you can see we're coming out just behind the Alfa Romeo, and you can see that famous red light flashing, which we have established means you are under, either you're under 10% ERS or you've used all your deployment, or you're coming to near the end of the deployment that lap. And you can see I'm on 40% ERS at this stage of the race. So the plan is now just to stay behind him, recoup the ERS. There's no point attacking right now, because otherwise I'm going to have nothing to play with at all, as JKB has actually gone off completely. So I don't know what on earth happened to him now. So now there's only 3 of us really in the fight, with Hunter having a penalty. The guy in second's also got a penalty as well, and you can see over the next few laps you've managed to save quite a bit of my ERS. So you need to plan when you want to do your attack. And now I'm going out the turn 1 just using all of my ERS. I don't think he's really going to fight this too hard, so I decided to use a few laps just to make sure that when I do attack him, that I have something to use to try and catch up to Lutz, because you can see we were about 1.3, 1.4 behind, but with the use of this ERS and him really not being able to save that much at all, because the pace of everyone here was actually really strong, I felt confident that I could get back in his DRS. And look, we have already got back in his DRS now, so that was well worth the gamble. And we still have over 50% ERS as well, so I'm going to use a little bit just to make sure that I'm in that detection point. I always seem to be just a little bit short when I'm in my league races recently, about a 10th short or something like that. But you can see here the DRS has become active, but we still have to keep in mind that we cannot afford to get another warning this race. If we do, we get a 3-second time penalty. So for these next few laps, we are just really going to be just staying behind and just recouping our ERS. And this is also a good time as well when you're in a league race. or when you're racing against someone who you want to overtake or beat, this is a really good opportunity for you to establish where they are stronger or weaker than you. And one thing I noticed about Lut is going into turn 2, he brakes very, very early, and he doesn't use a lot of the track. And on this corner as well, he seems to go quite wide on the exit of that corner. So I knew turn 2 was going to be a good spot. I knew I could probably outbrake him. Even if I wasn't directly behind him, I still think I had a bit of leeway to actually overtake him. So that's something always to keep in mind. When you're racing with people regularly in league racing, you will start to discover how different people drive, and that really should change your approach on how you're going to overtake them or your plan to actually beat them. And with Lut as a driver, I think at the moment he is probably it seems to be a new driver every week on Xbox who seems to be the best or something at the moment. But at the moment he's leading the Challenger Series on Xbox, so he is definitely one of the fastest. You can see again, not using all the track quite early, and I get a better exit coming off here as well. He's definitely seems to be the most consistent at the moment. So currently at this moment in time, I'd say he's probably the best driver on the Xbox as a whole in terms of consistency. But then next week it could be someone completely different, because momentum seems to be such a big thing on this game. Like, you could be doing so well for a while, and then you have a bad race, and then you have another 4 or 5 bad races, and then you can come back again. And I've gone through that cycle myself as well. So yeah, so this is going to be an interesting battle. Me and Lut have a little bit of history as well. It's almost got an invalidation there, so I had to turn out of that corner because I knew I was going to get an invalidation. So I'm making sure when we start this penultimate lap to the next lap, I really want to overtake him on this penultimate lap, and again just trying to avoid that inside, because I just really don't want to get a penalty in this race here. We're about to see again under braking. We're about to see these brakes quite a bit. I carry a lot more speed going into the apex, and I get quite a good exit as well. So I knew this was definitely going to be at the main point where I really had to overtake him here. So coming into this corner again, doesn't really use much of a track on the entry, gets a little bit of a poor exit, just trying to consume as much of the ERS as I possibly can, keeping it in standard now because we do have a lot of fuel to play with. And I know some people will be saying again, why haven't you drained more? So I really want to keep the engine as cool as possible for the most part of this race, because it really does help give you that little bit extra performance when you really do need it. So coming in to the penultimate lap of this race now, we're going to go on the DRS, go up into rich mix, using a little bit of boost just to get that momentum down the straight. Now I need to get a good exit coming off this corner, and this time we do get a very, very good exit. So using a DRS, going to be using all of the ERS, and I knew this is the place, now or never here. So going into this corner, we're going to go diving down the inside. I knew he was going to brake quite early, make a little bit of contact. As I said, we have a little bit of history as well, but we have got on the detection point of the DRS as well, so I'm just trying to avoid using it, having to use it again just to make sure I'm ahead. So I'm just going to try and cover this inside, leave him some room on the outside as well, use it a little bit just to make sure I'm ahead. And now this is the position where I want to be. I want to be in the lead coming into the last lap, because I did see the car up ahead could give me a bit of DRS. That's something I was keeping an eye on as well coming into this last lap. So just avoiding using any of the power coming through into here. I'm going to be in the detection point. I was just behind him, which means I do get the detection point down the straight, and you can see coming into this last lap it is going to be so close. I'm not using any down this straight, but going into turn 1 we get a little tap from behind which pushes me out wide here. So that was not the best exit, so I'm gonna have to use everything I can. But I also knew that he would probably be quite low on the ERS as well, so I'm defending to the inside, then covering back to the middle of the track, trying to get some good traction, which I always did coming off this corner. Now this is probably the last overtaking attempt that he can do going here, so I'm going to really defend this. But then he goes for the switchback, he tries to go down the inside, so I let him have the corner. Now I go for a switchback of my own, using the rest of the ERS, making a little bit more contact. And now it's here, do I decide to let him go? But instead I go round the outside of him, and I think at this point the move is done. But then we have made contact, And the race has come to a dramatic halt.
I don't think we were both going to concede there.
And I thought I had him there. I thought I had him because I felt in my mind he thought I was going to go for a switchback, which most people do in that corner. But I decided to do the opposite and just really commit to the outside, which I think really caught him off guard there. But nonetheless, that was a really, really good battle on the race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we come across the line.
That was a good race.
Come home in P5 in the end.
So all good.
But we are going to look at his POV as well, coming in to the second and then to the last lap. You can see we're going side by side. So this is on the penultimate lap here. And you can see he's very, very low on the ERS, which I did have a feeling he would be. So going on that curb, you're not going to get any traction here. Making sure I'm just defending this inside just to stop him from deterring. And at this point, I definitely had more ERS at this point here. So just still keeping it, just trying to do the timing for this penultimate corner so I didn't go too quickly so I could get the DRS down the main straight. Because he's getting a little bit of understeer here coming through to this corner, and he actually gets a penalty, which I didn't notice at the time. But to be honest, I still wanted to win on track no matter what. So going through this turn one, he makes a little bit of contact, so he pushes me out wide ever so slightly, but I think he did back off a little bit as well. He's going to use the rest of it, and he is in single digits of the ERS. So you can see he's not really gaining too much at all, but we do cover that inside because I knew he definitely probably would try and attempt to move anyway. Coming off the exit here, again, I think I still had a little bit more ERS, and that's why he is not gaining really that quickly at all. The red light is flashing, but then he goes to side and the inside. So I decide to let him have this corner. Then I get a really, really good switchback, making a bit more contact again. And now going into here, I think he wasn't expecting that. And I think the contact with my back wheel caused a ricochet effect. And unfortunately, we made contact after that. But that race was really awesome. GG to CRG Luck. Make sure you follow him down below as well. He's going to be very, very bright star of the future. I'm not quite sure how old he is, but I know he is pretty young, and he's doing an awesome job in the esports challenger series. He's the championship leader in that at the moment. So thank you so much for the support of my videos. I really, really do appreciate it, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.